Hello and good evening and welcome to the special broadcast on Republic TV. Looking Forward is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days as well as weeks. News that is developing and will touch your health, your politics, your connectivity and the world's geopolitical balance. Story number one tonight takes us to Delhi NCR, where the air quality index is set to plunge deeper into the severe zone this week. Forecast from the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorological warn of toxic haze trapped by dense fog as well as low winds. Vehicular emissions, industrial pollution and stubble burning are the usual culprits. But here's the biggest question. While millions struggle to breathe, Parliament's winter session just ended without a single discussion on pollution. Is India's air crisis being ignored at the highest level? We'll break down what's coming and what must change. Our story number two heads to Maharashtra, where the long-delayed civic polls are finally scheduled for 15th of January. The battle for the BMC, India's richest civic body with a budget of over 74,000 crore rupees, is heating up. The big twist: Shiva Sena UBT and Raj Thackre's MNS are on the verge of a game-changing alliance. Will this Marathi unity deal deliver or splinter the opposition further? We'll analyze the seat-sharing math. In story number three, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister DK Kumar is set to appear before Delhi police in the revived National Herald money laundering case summoned over donations to young Indian. DK Kumar calls it political harassment and vows to fight. As the probe widens to include top Congress leaders, is this timed vendetta or legitimate scrutiny? We'll look at the legal as well as political ramifications. Our story number four lifts off from Sriharikota, where ISRO's mighty LVM-3, the Bahubali, is ready to launch the 6.5-ton BlueBird 6 satellite. This Indo-US collaboration will deliver direct-to-mobile broadband worldwide, a heavyweight commercial mission that signals India's arrival in the global space big league. Countdown begins soon. We'll track this massive milestone. And finally, story number five from the global stage. President Donald Trump has set a Christmas 2025 deadline for Ukraine to sign a peace deal with Russia, warning that delays could see Moscow harden its position. With Russia holding about 18% of Ukraine and advancing slowly, territory remains the sticking point. Will Trump's holiday deadline bring peace or just more pressure? We'll assess the odds, so sit back for the next 1 hour. Let's begin with the headlines of the day.
एक पहाड़ी और दूसरी पहाड़ी के बीच में 500 मीटर का गैप है, तो वो जमीन भी अरावली रेंज मानी जाएगी। इस डेफिनेशन के आने के बाद 90% से ज्यादा एरिया प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया में आ गया।
Facing flag over Aravali, Move Union Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav says that more than 90% of it will be under protection.
हिंदुओं की दुर्दशा कब समाप्त होगी? वहाँ माइनॉरिटी है एकदम, वहाँ जरा कठिन है फिर भी जो मैक्सिमम बचाव हो सकता है उसके लिए वहाँ के हिंदू को इकट्ठा रहना पड़ेगा।
Hindus under attack in Bangladesh. RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat says in Bangladesh, situation remains difficult for Hindus because they are a minority there and there is a need for Hindu unity. The Bharatiya Janata Party emerges as the single largest party in the Maharashtra local body elections, wins 129 out of the 288 municipalities. Delhi chokes as thick smog covers the city. AQI rises to an alarming 374, even 900 in some areas. Trump's photo among 16 Epstein files disappeared from US government website. Republic speaks to one of the survivors. Ladies and gentlemen, the air quality index in the national capital and surrounding areas is expected to deteriorate this week, with forecast indicating a dip into the severe category. The Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology predicts that Delhi's AQI will fluctuate between severe and very poor over the next 6 days, with the city recording an average AQI of 374. Now, the situation is further exacerbated by dense fog and unfavorable weather conditions, with the ventilation index a key indicator of the dispersal potential. And while this is happening, let's not forget that the winter session of the parliament has ended with absolutely no discussion at all on pollution. Here's what you can expect in the coming week.
The Air Quality Index, or AQI, is deteriorating rapidly, plunging the city into severe pollution levels. On December 21st, Delhi's AQI hovered around 390 to 400. This is in the severe category, one of the worst Decembers in 8 years. But what does this mean, and why is it happening? Let's break it down. In Delhi right now, we are in the severe zone, with readings up to 438 in areas like Anand Vihar and Akshardham. This means breathing the air is like smoking several cigarettes a day, hazardous for lungs, heart, and in fact, health overall. As of December 21st, 2025, Delhi is blanketed in dense smog. The 24-hour average AQI is somewhere around 393 to 398, with peaks that have also crossed 400. GRAP Stage 4. The strictest restrictions is in force, banning construction and limiting vehicles. However, pollution persists due to calm winds, dense fog, and no rain to clear the air. The restrictions under GRAP 4 include a ban on non-essential construction activities, the entry of certain diesel vehicles, and enhanced enforcement to curb the pollution sources.
The situation in Delhi is extremely severe in terms of air quality in the coming days, with the temperature dipping down and also in terms of wind speed slowing. The AQI will also increase, and the situation is only going to get hazardous. But the most unfortunate part is that this entire winter session, despite promising the country to have a discussion on air quality or air pollution and the national air pollution crisis in general, and specifically with regard to Delhi as well, there was no discussion that took place. And imagine that the parliamentarians who are accountable, responsible, these lawmakers are supposed to actually discuss burning issues that country is facing and make adequate law. They completely failed us, and it's so unfortunate that imagine citizens are forced to breathe this air. The only thing in the name of air quality governance that we see is these ad hoc band-aid GRAP restrictions, and even those restrictions are completely violated.
Poor AQI has hit everyone, but especially children, elderly, and those with asthma or heart conditions. Short-term repercussions in the body include coughing, eye irritation, headaches. However, long-term includes respiratory diseases, lung cancer risk, heart attacks, and even impacts on the brain development.
So air pollution and its impact on human beings is perhaps the single most important deciding factor to influence our collective dream as a nation to become Viksit Bharat in 2047. This dream will become difficult to attain if the nation itself, as a large part of our citizens, are medically weakened. We are losing more than 2 million Indians every year directly because of air pollution. Air pollution is killing every minute hundreds and hundreds of Indians. It's going to be an avalanche of cases which the Indian healthcare system and the Indian economy will be hard to find.
Central Delhi was not spared either, with India Gate and Kartavya Path showing a thick layer of smog hovering over the iconic stretch. The AQI in this area was recorded at 381, falling in the very poor category. In East Delhi's Anand Vihar locality, pollution levels touched severe, with the AQI again at 438, making it one of the most polluted pockets of the capital on Sunday morning. Delhi is choking. India is gasping under toxic smog. The AQI is hitting hazardous levels above 400 and even 900 in spots as of mid-December 2025. Yet, there is political silence. The parliament has ignored it, and the leaders have started finger-pointing.
ये SIR और कुछ नहीं है, मतदाता सूची का शुद्धिकरण है। मैं मानता हूं इससे कुछ दलों के राजनीतिक स्वार्थ आहत होते हैं। मुझे उन दलों के प्रति एक प्रकार से अनुकंपा भी है, क्योंकि देश के मतदाता तो वोट देते नहीं हैं। ये थोड़े विदेशी दे देते थे, वो भी चले जाएंगे। मगर मान्यवर, क्या हमने भारत के नाते निर्णय करना पड़ेगा कि इस देश की संसद को चुनने के लिए, राज्य की विधानसभा को चुनने के लिए विदेशी को वोट देने का अधिकार देना है या नहीं देना है? और मेरा मत है, मेरा विनम्र मत है मान्यवर, कि ये नहीं देना चाहिए।
The parliament so far has debated SIR.
मान्यवर, उनको धैर्य रखना चाहिए, उनको धैर्य रखना चाहिए मेरा जवाब सुनने का। इनकी एक एक बात का जवाब मैं दूंगा, मगर मेरे भाषण का क्रम वो
रिस्पॉन्स है, ये डरा हुआ रिस्पॉन्स है।
अब सुनिए पूरी बात, प्लीज मानिए। नो।
It has also debated Manrega.
इस योजना में हमने जो प्रावधान किया है, कांग्रेस ने तो इस योजना में जो धन की राशि थी वो भी घटाने का पाप किया। ये माननीय अध्यक्षों से कहते हैं मनरेगा, लेकिन 40,000 करोड़ से घटा के इन्हें बजट का आवंटन कर दिया 33,000 करोड़। ये हाथी के दांत खाने के और दुखाने के और, मुंह में राम बगल में छुरी लेके घूमते हैं। इन्हें मजदूरों को पर्याप्त रोजगार नहीं दिया, लेकिन माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, ये नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार थी। 1,11,000 करोड़ रुपया तक हमने मनरेगा पर खत्म किए हैं।
इसको निकाल के बाहर फेंकेंगे। एक मिला।
And also shared light-hearted, funny moments in the assembly.
This is regarding the highway between Chandigarh and Simla, which has very similar issues as the honourable member raised, except that in many places it seems like the retaining wall is so low that those are the very places where the landslide is taking place. So may I request you to please look into the matter? And may I also request you to grant me an appointment? I've been asking since June to talk about my constituency, sir.
मैडम, आज क्वेश्चन आवर के बाद आप आ जाइए, कभी भी आइए, मेरा दरवाजा हर समय खुला रहता है, अपॉइंटमेंट लेने की भी जरूरत नहीं होती। आप
बोला था, खेल शुरू हो गया था सर, शुरू हुआ ना। खेल तो बहुत सा खेल है सर, चू कित भी खेल है, चू कित में चू धरा 400 में, कितना हुआ? 240। वो गेम में भी हारा गया।
However, the elected leaders sitting in the upper and lower house of the parliament have failed the people, with no parliament discussion despite weeks of hazard. The cases and the situation is so severe that it has also reached the courts.
The considerations for removing any element pertaining to pollution has now become a matter of commerce. Everything is centering around how do we make money when people are dying of pollution. Now, if that is the situation, you are never going to see any change. At the moment I'm driving up, I'm about 300 miles from Delhi. The entire area over here, we've been eating nothing but road dust. For the governance, it is convenience because they stay in comfort. The average man on the street and all of us will going to suffer. Delhi is the worst affected, as they say, but I disagree. I think most of our cities will be equally affected because there is absolutely no steps being taken to control pollution. Where the legislature should sit and discuss pollution, they don't sit, they don't even participate in debates and discussions. We are discussing matters which are of no consequence.
The air emergency demands action now. The nation is asking tonight, worsening AQI is a bigger problem than COVID. But who is actually bothered?
After years of delays stemming from legal disputes over seat reservation and ward delimitations, the Maharashtra State Election Commission has finally set the stage for the long overdue civic polls, announcing that elections to the 29 municipal corporations, including the high-stake BMC, that will be held in a single phase on 15th of January 2026, with vote counting scheduled for 16th of January. Political maneuvering has intensified, with the ruling Mahayuti alliance advancing seat-sharing talks to consolidate power, while the opposition sees potential upheaval through an emerging alliance between Shiva Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction and Maharashtra Navnirman Sena under Raj Thackeray. However, strains in the broader Mahavikas Aghadi have once again surfaced as Congress opts to contest independently in several areas, potentially fragmenting the anti-Mahayuti votes. As campaigning ramps up and scrutiny over the voter lists, these elections promise of fierce battle-testing alliances.
Mumbai is now gearing up for a long-anticipated and much-awaited BMC election scheduled for January 15, 2026.
Bharat Mata ki Jai Bhavani!
Polling, in fact, for 29 municipal corporations across Maharashtra, including the BMC, is scheduled for 15th January, with counting to follow the very next day. Ahead of these elections, political parties across Maharashtra have reignited their sparrings as alliances arise. Leaders of the Mahayuti Alliance, for one, held their third round of meetings on Friday at Muktagiri. The BJP and the Shiv Sena leaders, Shinde faction, had leading up to this meeting already arrived at an agreement on 150 seats within the Mahayuti alliance before addressing the 77 remnant seats in the meetings on Friday.
आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी, शिवसेना, रिपब्लिकन पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया आठवले गट की मुंबई के महानगर पालिका के चुनाव के संदर्भ में चर्चा हुई है। इस चर्चा में इलेक्शन मैनेजमेंट, प्रचार के मुद्दे, सभा माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय और माननीय उप मुख्यमंत्री महोदय की कहां पर होनी चाहिए, इस प्रकार के अलग अलग विषयों के बारे में, मैनेजमेंट के इश्यूज के बारे में चर्चा हुई है। इसमें सीटों पर भी चर्चा हुई है और 227 में से 150 सीटों के ऊपर हमारा एकमत हो चुका है। बची हुई जो 77 सीटें हैं, उन बची हुई 77 सीटों में आने वाले कुछ दिनों में हम चर्चा करेंगे और चर्चा में से वो आने वाले समय में जो फाइनल डिसीजन है वो राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब और उप मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ शिंदे जी, इनके बीच में चर्चा होने के बाद वो फाइनल डिसीजन होगा और उसकी घोषणा होगी।
This is after the political landscape of Maharashtra was jolted by Shiv Sena UBT leader and former BMC corporate Tejasvi Abhishek Gosalkar joining the BJP. And with the Congress pulling out of the Mahavikas Aghadi recently as yesterday, the political landscape in Maharashtra stands vulnerable to jolts. In the midst of this uncertainty comes the possible joining of forces amid the Shiv Sena and the Maha Navnirman Sena. The duo is a contentious one, with the Sena UBT headed by former Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, while once his estranged cousin is the president of MNS. This is as Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut indicated that his party would join forces with the MNS for the upcoming civic polls in Mumbai, Thane, Pune and Nasik, the formal announcement of which, however, is pending. The Shiv Sena's UBT faction has in fact, in an exclusive conversation with Republic, addressed the alliance as he lauds the Thackeray brothers joining forces as the two proponents of celebrated Shiv Sena leader late Bala Saheb Thackeray.
देखिए दोनों भाई साथ में आ तो रहे हैं लेकिन दोनों हैं तो भाई, और जब भाई भाई मिलकर लड़ते हैं तो बड़े से बड़ी विपत्ति का सामना करते हैं। मुंबई मतलब ठाकरे, ठाकरे मतलब मुंबई। आदरणीय हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहब ठाकरे जी के दोनों ही शिष्य हैं, रिश्तेदार हैं, पिता और पुत्र का संबंध है, लेकिन शिष्य और गुरु का भी है। जो बाला साहब ठाकरे जी ने दोनों ठाकरे को सिखाया है वही लेगेसी लेकर वो और आदित्य ठाकरे और अमित ठाकरे चल रहे हैं। अब देखिएगा कि मुंबई महानगर पालिका हो, चाहे ठाणे महानगर पालिका हो, चाहे नवी मुंबई महानगर पालिका हो, चाहे नासिक हो, पुणे हो, अच्छा प्रतिसाद मिल रहा है पब्लिक द्वारा, जनता द्वारा, क्योंकि मराठी मानुस को हित के लिए लड़ाई लड़ना ये दोनों ठाकरे परिवार का शुरू से धोरण रहा है।
In the same exclusive conversation with Republic, the UBT faction goes on to state that the upcoming win of the Shiv Sena MNS alliance is crucial to Mumbai's progress and development.
नहीं, ये कोई मजबूरी नहीं है, ये ज़रूरी है मुंबई के विकास के लिए, मुंबई के उत्थान के लिए। जिस मुंबई को बचाने के लिए 106 से ज़्यादा लोगों ने अपने प्राणों का बलिदान दिया है, उस मुंबई को बचाने के लिए एकत्र आना ही पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जिस प्रकार अहंकारी और तानाशाही शक्तियाँ मुंबई को गुलाम बनाना चाहती हैं, खास करके कुछ व्यापारियों के झोली में डालना चाहती हैं, ये हम होने नहीं दे रहे। इसीलिए हम साथ आए। मुंबई की जनता चाहती थी कि ठाकरे बंधु साथ में आए, और देखिए संजोग देखिए, प्रभु की लीला देखिए, या साथ में आ रहे हैं। अभी किसी भी समय हमारे गठबंधन की घोषणा हो जाएगी।
The UBT faction also went on to allege that the lack of BMC elections in Mumbai for the past 4 to 5 years would have also garnered flack from the people of Mumbai and their anger at the Mahayuti and sitting government, which the Shiv Sena MNS alliance could benefit from.
कौन कितनी सीटों पर लड़ेगा वो पता चलेगा। तो एक अच्छी शुरुआत है, और हमें पूरा विश्वास है कि जो पिछले 4-5 सालों से मुंबई के चुनाव नहीं हुए थे, उसका गुस्सा भी जनता के मन में जो है वो महायुति और सरकार में बैठे लोगों पे फूटेगा, उसका भी लाभ हमें मिलेगा।
The UBT faction expressed confidence in the outcome of their alliance, believing that their alliance bodes well for the Marathi Manus and the Hindutva spirit of the state.
देखिए, हिंदुत्व और शिवसेना एक ही सिक्के के दो पहलू हैं। हम कभी हिंदुत्व छोड़ नहीं सकते। हमारा हिंदुत्व है हृदय में राम, हाथों में काम, और उनका हिंदुत्व है मुंह में राम, बगल में छुरी। तो वो हमें न सिखाएं हिंदुत्व क्या है। हिंदुत्व भारतीय जनता पार्टी से हमें सीखने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं, और नकली सेना से सीखने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। हिंदुत्व ये मुंबई के लोग जानते हैं, आई मुंबा देवी के आशीर्वाद से, कि कौन असली हिंदू है, कौन नकली हिंदू है। ये चुनाव ही एक ऐसे मोड़ पर जाएगा कि आपको 16 जनवरी को जब नतीजे आएंगे तो आप खुद ब खुद आश्चर्यचकित होंगे।
The joining of the Thackeray brothers' forces, in fact, was even likened to the revered Sri Ram Bharat spirit of brotherhood, as the UBT faction calls on the people of Maharashtra to vote for the Thackeray brothers in light of their likely alliance.
जब भाई हो गए तो आप बड़े छोटे नहीं रह जाते। उम्र में आप बड़े छोटे भले होते हैं, अधिकार में आप समान होते हैं। यही तो राजा राम, यही तो राजा भरत जी से हमने सीखा है। राम और लखन, ये दोनों भाई ने जो एक आदर्श स्थापित किया है इस देश के सामने, यही कि भाई भाई के लिए व्याकुल होना चाहिए।
The opposition, however, is not as confident of this alliance's success. In fact, BJP MLA Atul Bhatkalkar called beating this alliance no challenge at all amid an exclusive conversation with Republic.
There is no challenge at all. In arithmetic, 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. So both are 0. Marathi people and Mumbaikar Janta, they have already rejected both Thackeray brothers in Vidhan Sabha elections, and so there will be 0 impact if at all they come together.
The Eknath Shinde faction of the Shiv Sena party was not left far behind in its critique on the alliance, as it alleges the Mahayuti to bring in a win in the upcoming BMC elections regardless of the Thackeray brothers' union.
The Mahayuti will win the forthcoming BMC elections, whether the Thackeray brothers contest together or not, because today the mandate and the support of the people of Mumbai are with us. We have, with the Eknath Shinde group, almost 125 corporators BJP has over 90 corporators, and the Ajit Dada Pawar-led NCP has a dozen corporators, and therefore we will sweep the BMC elections.
Maharashtra now awaits the official announcement of this alliance as the state gears up for the upcoming polls, which have long been due since 2017.
The long-dormant National Herald money laundering case has reignited as a major political flashpoint, with Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister and senior Congress leader DK Shivakumar drawn into the probe after the Delhi Police's Economic Offences Wing issued him a notice seeking detailed financial and transactional records related to donations. He, as well as his brother, former parliamentarian DK Suresh, allegedly made to Young Indian, the company linked to the Congress-owned Associated Journals Limited, publisher of the National Herald newspaper. DK Shivakumar has vehemently termed the police action as harassment and political vendetta, insisting that the donations were legitimate support for a party institution during tough times, made from taxed income with nothing to hide. He plans to appear before investigators next week while vowing to fight the matter legally.
The National Herald case, one of India's longest-running political and legal battles. It has been under investigation for over a decade now, with multiple agencies probing alleged financial irregularities linked to the Congress-owned newspaper and its associate company, Young Indian. The National Herald case stems from acquisition of shares of AJL worth of rupees 2,000 crore by Young India Limited in just rupees 50 lakhs, an unheard of profit of around 4 lakh%. AJL was the parent company of the National Herald newspaper, an initiative of Jawaharlal Nehru before independence. However, AJL was facing massive losses when it was acquired by Young India Limited, a company set up with Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi as 76% shareholders. Since then, the matter has moved through courts, seen repeated questioning by the investigative agencies, and remained a flashpoint in national politics. In May 2025, the probe took a significant turn when the Enforcement Directorate named Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar during its investigation. The Enforcement Directorate named DK Shivakumar, Telangana Chief Minister Revant Reddy, in its charge sheet filed under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The Enforcement Directorate alleged that DK Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, personally donated rupees 25 lakhs and arranged an additional of rupees 2 crore through a trust associated with him. DK Shivakumar confirmed donating to the Congress-run National Herald newspaper. He and his brother each donated rupees 25 lakh allegedly.
ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಹೆರಾಲ್ಡ್ಗೆ ನಾನು 25 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ, DK ಸುರೇಶು 25 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ತಪ್ಪೇನಿದೆ? ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ನಡೆಸುವಂಥ ಪೇಪರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಏನು ತಪ್ಪೇನಿದೆ? ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ? ನಾವೇನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಕದ್ದು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಾ? ರಾಜಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸಂಪಾದನೆ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಸ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಪ್ಪ.
He asserted that donations were transparent and from their income, while Suresh stated that they donated between rupees 2 crore to 2.5 crore to the Young India Trust. DK Shivakumar has been under the Enforcement Directorate's scrutiny since the year 2022, when he and his brother, former Congress MP DK Suresh, were summoned to clarify the source of these donations. On December 5th, Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police has issued a notice to DK Shivakumar asking him to appear in connection with the same case. With the latest development, the notice to DK Shivakumar added another twist to the already heated political drama surrounding the National Herald case probe. The notice, issued by the Office of the Assistant Commissioner of Police, directs DK Shivakumar to appear in Delhi on or before December 19th. Investigators believe that he may have the key information to the FIR registered on October 3rd. The Delhi Police have sought detailed financial and transactional details related information, including the purpose and sources of funds donated to Young Indian, communication with the company, or Congress-linked stakeholders. The brothers were earlier questioned by the Enforcement Directorate in relation to these allegations, with the Delhi police now stepping in. DK Shivakumar's appearance later this month is expected to be the next key moment in the case that has unfolded over several years. Reacting to the notice issued by the Delhi police, DK Shivakumar described it as a harassment and claimed that attempts were being made to allegedly create confusion just to target Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and their supporters.
It is very shocking to me. I had given all the details to the ED. ED had summoned me also. We had given all the notice. There is nothing wrong. It is our institution. And we, being a congressman, we have supported the institution also, number one. Number two, from the whatever is there, we have supported. There is nothing hide and seek. All is on black and white. Nothing. But I don't know why, after the ED also has filed a charge sheet, there was no need of the police to register a case. So we will take up this case. We will fight in the court of law. It is only the harassment. What is there? It is our money. We can give to anyone whomever we like when we pay taxes. There is nothing involved. Already the PMLA case is over. Already they have filed the charge sheet. Then what more they can do it? They just to harass Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and all the supporters. They are trying to create confusion.
He rejected allegations that the Gandhi family treated it as a personal property, saying that it belongs to the trust and functions under established rules. The Congress party has rallied behind DK Shivakumar, accusing the BJP of using investigative agencies as a political tool. The BJP, meanwhile, has rejected the charge, asserting that agencies are acting strictly within the law and that accountability applies equally to all, irrespective of political position.
पुलिस ने बुलाया है, DK शिवकुमार अभी तक बचने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कानून इतना कमज़ोर नहीं है और DK शिवकुमार क्योंकि उप मुख्यमंत्री हैं तो उन्हें भी इस बात की समझ है। मुझको लगता है कि DK शिवकुमार को अगर वो अपने आप को निर्दोष मानते हैं तो एजेंसी के सामने आकर के अपनी निर्दोषता को साबित करना चाहिए, नहीं तो उनके ऊपर एक बड़ा सवाल खड़ा होगा। अंततः आना तो पड़ेगा ही, इसमें कहीं कोई दो राय नहीं है।
The National Herald case has thus become a major political flashpoint between the ruling party and the opposition. As political allegations fly thick and fast, legal experts say that such summons are part of standard investigative procedure. Former Additional Solicitor General Dr. Pinky Anand also issued a sharp legal observation on cooperation by constitutional office holders.
See, when you are having a prosecution launched in an offence, you find, particularly in money issues, money is routed through various channels and it comes to a position where it moves into various forums. So the question of summoning various witnesses is something which is very basic to such an investigation. Investigation cannot be forestalled. You have to have the provision of being able to investigate into how and in what manner the offence took place, and calling DK Kumar and maybe several other people in the near future would be a logical corollary of the process of investigation.
With the agencies expected to continue summoning individuals and examining documents, the focus will now shift to what emerges from DK Shivakumar's appearance and whether it leads to further questioning, fresh evidence or expanded action.
After months of delays due to technical checks and integration requirement, India's powerful LVM-3 rocket, affectionately known as Bahubali for its heavy lift prowess, is poised to launch the massive 6.1 to 6.5 ton BlueBird Block 2 satellite on 24th of December from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Built by Texas-based AST Space Mobile, this next-generation spacecraft represents a groundbreaking advancement in space-based cellular broadband technology, featuring one of the largest commercial phased array antennas ever deployed. This mission, facilitated through a commercial agreement with ISRO's arm, New Space India Limited, marks the heaviest commercial payload ever launched into the low Earth orbit by the LVM-3 and underscores a deepening Indo-US collaboration in space, positioning India as a reliable as well as a competitive player in the global launch services market while advancing equitable digital access across continents.
On 24 December, a 6.5-ton American communications giant BlueBird 6 will finally be launched into space after multiple delays and prolonged wait. But there is an indigenous touch to it. The low Earth orbit satellite BlueBird 6 will be launched by ISRO's heavy lifter LVM-3, Bahubali, from Sriharikota's Satish Dhawan Space Center at 8:54 am.
3, 2, 1, 0.
The satellite, built by Texas-based AST Spacemobile, is the heaviest American satellite ever to be launched by India. BlueBird 6 will be among the biggest payloads LVM-3 has hauled to space, second only to November's 4.4-ton CMS-03. The aim of this satellite is to provide direct-to-device mobile broadband connectivity, fast and unhindered communication. BlueBird 6 is the first of its next-generation Block 2 series satellite. Once deployed, the satellite will unfurl a phased array antenna spanning nearly 2,400 square feet, which makes this satellite the largest commercial communications array operating in low Earth orbit. Compared to the earlier BlueBird 1 to 5 satellites, this new variant is almost 4 times larger. It will also provide roughly 10 times the data processing capacity. Now on 24 December, ISRO's most trusted workhorse, heavy lifter LVM-3, is set to put BlueBird 6, its heaviest payload, into a low Earth orbit. LVM-3, nicknamed Bahubali, is a 3-stage, 45.5-meter rocket weighing about 640 tons at liftoff. Considered as the backbone of India's heaviest launches, including Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3 and now BlueBird 6. Bahubali can take 8 tons to low Earth orbit and 4 tons to geosynchronous transfer orbit.
BlueBird is 6.5 is planned to be launched by LVM-3 launch vehicle by ISRO. Interaction and interface between NASA and ISRO in particular is India and America in large is more than 5 decades. ISRO had launched earlier also BlueBird, BlueBird satellite. This particular satellite, BlueBird, is 6.5-ton satellite, and it is being launched by LVM-3. LVM-3 is a heavy lift vehicle which can take 4.4 tons to GTO and nearly 8 tons to low Earth orbit. And this rocket also has 3 stages, the 2 boosters, that forms the first stage, and then there is a liquid stage, and then the cryogenic stage. This 3-stage rocket is completely ready for launch of the BlueBird satellite from America.
The BlueBird 6 satellite was transported to India from the US on October 19. It was later transported by road to Sriharikota for further integration, fueling, testing and launch. It will be the first commercial venture of ISRO being handled by New Space India Limited, the commercial arm of ISRO, putting India on the forefront of the commercialized space sector. This will also help ISRO earn revenue for the government through contracts and partnerships.
You know that NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar is a global application for climate change and looking at the vegetation, looking at the soil moisture, etc. There's a worldwide demand for this data, and ISRO and NASA have agreed to give exchange of data very easily and commercially, as well as this is no commercial. I don't think there is a much commercial demand. We are not going to give, NASA ISRO have agreed to give it freely to academic institutions and research scholars. research persons. So yes, but if you want to have wider coverage, newer missions, we are easily able to launch similar missions for other countries, and certainly we can our in space.
Adding deeper insight, former ISRO project director G. Raju underscores the importance of the BlueBird 6 satellite, calling it a paradigm shift in India's space program.
This BlueBird 6, which is a very, very important and very new paradigm shift, I should say, this is going to connect directly from satellite to your smartphone. It's a powerful mission, and we are is a successful one more feather in our cap, in that sense, Indo-US collaboration. We have been celebrating this year 50 years of site experiment, which is already completed. And we have also launched NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar. So I should say this is a very important landmark situation, landmark event for the ISRO-US collaboration.
Terming it a landmark Indo-US mission, G. Raju says BlueBird 6's low Earth orbit offers a double advantage: better reach to ground users and effective global coverage without power or antenna constraints.
This is a low Earth orbit satellite. Secondly, as compared to the geosynchronous satellite orbit, we may not need very high power, but the power has to reach the small antenna gain of your smartphones. So the complete double advantage of this mission is low Earth orbit, so that we are able to reach the low Earth orbit, the ground people, about let's say 600 to 700 to even 1,000 kilometers away. And we are also having a large antenna, so transmission power, or the effective isotropic radiated power, as we call it. Power, the actual transmitted power multiplied by the gain of the antenna, which will be enormous.
ISRO Deputy Director S. Venkateshwara Sharma calls the mission a critical leap in space-based connectivity, highlighting how BlueBird 6 will power the backbone of modern communication.
This particular satellite is an extremely useful satellite for the communication, and this ATS company, which has made the satellite, is ready for deploying this for communication, point-to-point communication, and also which is going to be a backbone for the communication establishment and the network for the ATS, US company, which is the prime contractor and the owner for this particular satellite.
Walking down memory lane, Venkateshwara Sharma recalls how India-US cooperation in space, especially between ISRO and NASA on satellites and launch vehicles, dates back nearly 5 decades.
This is the next step in coordination and cooperation between the two countries, namely America and India, and it is going strength to strength, as we have also seen in the launch of Subhanshu Shukla to ISS, where India sent the Indian astronaut to space, and such interfaces and interactions are very strong between the two countries, and I am sure this will pave way for many other such interactions and interactions and the commercial as well as the scientific activities between the two countries.
For India's own space economy, BlueBird 6 is also a coming-of-age moment. NSIL is proving it can bring in serious foreign business. Indian startups see validation that Sriharikota and LV-M3 are attractive launch addresses. Every flawless heavy lift shot builds confidence ahead of human rating LV-M3 for Gaganyaan.
3, 2, 1, 0.
On December 24, when Bahubali lifts off with BlueBird 6, it won't just be launching another foreign satellite. it will be testing whether ISRO can turn engineering triumph into a global launch business. From Nisar and Chandrayaan to the heaviest American COMSAT of its class, LVM-3 is no longer knocking on the door. It's stepping into the big lead. And if the BlueBird 6 gamble pays off, this could be the night Bahubali officially goes global.
2, 1, 0.
As the Russia-Ukraine war trudges into its fourth grueling year amid relentless destruction, displacement and diplomatic stalemate, US President Donald Trump has intensified pressure on Kiev to ink a peace deal by Christmas 2025, warning that delays could prompt Moscow to retract offers. At the core of the contention lies territory, with Russia occupying about 18% of the Ukraine, including all of Luhansk and Donetsk in the Donbas region, swaths of Zaporozhye and Kherson in the south, and the land corridor to annexed Crimea having expanded by roughly about 4,700 square kilometers in 2025. Now, as strikes persist and intelligence assessments confirm Russia's unchanged aims, the parallel tracks of combat and talks underscore a conflict far from holiday resolution, leaving the world watching.
As the world inches towards Christmas, the Russia-Ukraine war grinds on. The fourth year marked by destruction, displacement and diplomatic fatigue. Snow falls on battle lines that have barely shifted. Missiles strike cities, and once again, peace talks are racing against the clock. This year, that clock bears one name: Donald Trump. From the moment he returned to power, Donald Trump promised what his predecessors could not deliver: an end to the 4-year Russia-Ukraine war. In recent week, that promise has hardened to reassure: first Thanksgiving, now Christmas. Trump is building pressure on Ukraine to accept the peace deal before Russia changes its mind.
Mr. President, there's a meeting this weekend on Ukraine in Florida. What are you hoping will come out of that meeting?
Well, they're getting close to something, but I hope Ukraine moves quickly. I hope Ukraine moves quickly because Russia's there. And, every time they take too much time, then Russia changes their mind.
But even those closest to Moscow say the date itself is open to an interpretation.
Well, look, this is not the first deadline Donald Trump has set, obviously. And also, let's keep in mind that Orthodox Christians celebrate Christmas in January. So there's a lot of room for interpretation for the Kiev side of this negotiation. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that from what we've seen from Volodymyr Zelensky, that he would be open to accept the deal.
At the heart of the effort is a US-backed peace framework, initially expansive, later trimmed, still deeply contentious. The plan seeks a ceasefire, security guarantees for Ukraine, and an end to active hostilities. But unresolved questions remain: territory, military limits, and Ukraine's long-term security alignment. Territory remains the most explosive issue. Russia currently occupies parts of eastern and southern Ukraine, including areas of Donetsk and the land corridor to Crimea. Moscow wants Ukraine to formally relinquish claims over these regions. Kiev refuses. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously voiced readiness to drop his country's bid to join NATO in exchange for Western security guarantees. However, he firmly rejected the US push for ceding territory to Russia as he held talks with US envoys on ending the war.
Vladimir Putin has made it time and again very clear that he will not be satisfied with really pretty much any concessions from Ukraine other than Ukraine's signing of capitulation. Just this week, a day ago, he spoke for many hours to the Russian television audience, and he made it clear that Russia expects to control all of Novorossiya, New Russia area of Ukraine. For those of our viewers who don't know this, this actually is an area much bigger than the currently occupied territory by Russia. This would be probably another 20% of Ukraine's territory, and would in fact make Ukraine a landlocked country, would cut off Ukraine's access to the sea. So Ukraine, by signing any territorial sort of demands of Russia, would be walking into a trap of further annexation and the eventual capitulation of Ukraine. That's why Ukraine is not willing to sign any of these Russian demands that are being currently proposed.
For Vladimir Putin to change his stance now would be actually quite strange. Russia has been successful on the battlefield. Our troops continue to move forward and to claim new territory. The people of these regions asked for protection back in 2022. From the standpoint of a person who speaks for the Russian people, you know, actually agreeing to any sort of what the West calls compromise would not be a compromise, because this is the Russian-speaking population that has been dying. It is the Russian-speaking population of Ukraine that asked for our protection. So the president has been, and I believe he will be, remaining consistent on the very simple demands that Moscow has in this conflict. Then that's nothing new. Obviously, the no-block neutral status for Ukraine is never going to be negotiable, because that would essentially, any sort of bloc accepting Ukraine would be essentially putting foreign military on our doorstep. And that's a very simple kind of picture that should be understandable to our Western counterparts. The remaining points of what Moscow has been standing for this whole time are also very clear. They have been very clear from day one. And yes, the ball is in Ukraine's court.
However, experts theorize that it is unlikely for Moscow to get everything it wants out of the peace deal. Territorial concessions won't just be acceptable to Kyiv and Europe, but also to the next US president after Trump.
Putin will get some of what he wants, I think, in any kind of peace deal. He will get most of the Donbass, certainly the parts that are currently occupied by the Russians. Ukraine has already acknowledged that they accept not becoming NATO members, but I don't think that Putin is going to get the rest of what he wants. The Ukraine is not going to give up on the non-Russian occupied parts of the Donbass. Ukraine will not accept not becoming a EU member, which is definitely on the cards. The Ukraine will not accept weakening of its military capacity, and certainly not the de facto desire of Russia, of Putin, to determine who is going to rule the country. Russia wants basically to swallow all of Ukraine gradually back into the greater Russian Empire. This will not be acceptable to Ukraine or to Europe. and will unlikely to be acceptable to the next American president.
Even as diplomacy intensifies, the war does not pause. Russian strike continue, Ukrainian counter-operations persist. Meanwhile, Putin has declared that Russia will seek to extend its gains in Ukraine if peace talks fail.
Цели специальной военной операции, безусловно, будут достигнуты. Мы предпочитали бы делать это и устранить первопричины конфликта с помощью дипломатии. Если же противоборствующая страна, их зарубежные покровители от разговора по существу откажутся, Россия добьется освобождения своих исторических земель военным путем. Задача создания и расширения буферной зоны безопасности также будет последовательно решаться. Мы готовы вести переговоры и готовы решать все возникшие за последние годы проблемы мирным путем. Администрация Соединенных Штатов Америки демонстрирует такую готовность. Мы ведем с ними диалог. Надеюсь, то же самое произойдет и с Европой. Маловероятно, что это возможно с действующими политическими элитами. Но в любом случае это будет неизбежно по мере нашего дальнейшего укрепления. Если не с действующими политиками, то при смене политических элит в Европе.
US intelligence assessment also suggests that Moscow's core war aims remains unchanged. They also make it clear that they are not trying to impose a deal on anybody.
Time and energy in this, and what we're trying to figure out here is what can Ukraine live with and what can Russia live with? Sort of identify what both sides' positions are and see if we can sort of drive them towards each other to some agreement. Wars end generally in one of two ways: surrender by one side for another, or a negotiated settlement. We don't see surrender anytime in the near future by either side, and so only a negotiated settlement gives us the opportunity to end this war. A negotiated settlement requires two things: both sides to get something out of it, and both sides to give something. And we're trying to figure out what can Russia give and what do they expect to get, what can Ukraine give and what can Ukraine expect to get. In the end, the decision will be up to Ukraine and up to Russia. It will not be up to the United States. So that's the role we are trying to play in this. And that's why you see so many meetings going on. This is not about imposing a deal on anybody. It is about determining what both sides expect and need to have and what both sides are prepared to give in return for it, and figuring out whether we can have those two overlap. And of course, that takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work. It can't generally be done in the media or in press conferences. I think we've made progress, but we have ways to go. And obviously, the hardest issues are always the last issues.
For now, negotiations and combat move in parallel, not together. Now, across Europe and in Kyiv, there is growing skepticism about Donald Trump's imposed timelines. Ukrainian experts say this deadline is just a way for Trump to have some gains after his popularity ratings has plummeted.
Well, I think we've heard this before, from Donald Trump. First, it was a kind of an ultimatum to accept Russia's demand to leave the Donbass by the American holiday of Thanksgiving. Now we're hearing about Christmas. It's clear that this is more about Donald Trump's own political reality than Ukraine-Russia war and the difficulties of reaching a peace agreement. Donald Trump seems to ignore those difficulties. He wants to rush this process. It's clear that his popularity rating has plummeted. The Jeffrey Epstein files have just been released. He's got a lot of problems, so he wants to show some success on the foreign relations front, and that's what explains this hurry. Ukraine has made it clear it's not willing to leave the territory of the Donbass that it still currently controls, and the European allies stand firmly with Ukraine on that score.
Even US experts do not believe that Trump's Christmas deadline holds any significance.
Those deadlines, I think, with Donald Trump are always variable. They can be changed, and most likely will be changed in this case. The peace deal that he wants Ukraine to accept is unacceptable not just to Ukraine, but also to Europe, which views its own security for all the countries bordering on the former Soviet Union as at risk if Putin gets his way in Ukraine. So the serious territorial concessions, the doubtful, dubious security guarantees, and the cap on Ukraine's ability to defend itself militarily are simply not going to be part of any deal that Ukraine will accept. So I think we'll see further negotiations. Trump's Christmas deadline will become the early New Year deadline, and this will move on possibly for years still. It's a tragic conflict that shows no signs of ending anytime soon.
As Donald Trump approaches the end of his first year back in office, his Ukraine peace push stands at a critical moment. A Christmas breakthrough would be dramatic, but few expect the war to end with a holiday announcement. More likely, the deadline will slip, the talks will continue, and the conflict will remain unresolved into the new year. And with Christmas days away, the world is watching with bated breath. Until words translate into silence on the battlefield, this remains a war measured not in dates, but in days survived.
Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of Looking Forward. Hope you enjoyed watching the show as much as we did putting it together. We'll see you next Sunday.